I jumped through so many hoops to get where I am, and it took me a long time, and I did it, and I'm happy where I got. And now I'm back in Canada, and I look back on all that, and I'm like, you know what? I did it. I became a semi-famous comedian, appearing as a regular on multiple TV shows. I was doing comedy 5 days a week, 6 to 8 hours a day. We even toured a couple times. My partner, got us a job at Ibaraki. And we got sent to Ibaraki to do a comedy show for, I think, 1 hour, 2 days in a row. And they paid for our hotel. They paid for everything. And that's when I was kind of like, you know what? I made it. I'm a professional Japanese comedian. And I thought it was great. And I checked off all the boxes. I got where I wanted. And then I kind of looked at the situation of comedy in Japan and was like, okay, there's Atsugiri Jason. He got big. He fell big. There's my buddy Nick, there's Ike Nuwara, there's a handful of comedians that are foreigner in Japan. And all of them reach a peak, and then they disappear and people don't remember them anymore. And I was like, I don't want to be not remembered anymore. So I got to the peak of where I wanted to be, and then I was like, either the industry changes or I gotta change. And I was like, I gotta change. Besides waking up from alerts on my TV and my cell phone of Korea sending missiles to me and then China threatening nuclear war, I thought it was time to come back to Canada. And now that I'm back in Canada, you know, sometimes I even put Japanese comedy in my stand-up English comedy, and people love it. So everything works out at the end, I guess. But, you know, we're building something. I like this podcast. I like talking to people. And maybe it's going to turn into a live stream soon. Someone recommended doing Twitch. Maybe I'll do Twitch. And, you know, I don't know. I'll do my best. But there was a quote by, who was it recently? A funny comedian. I think it was maybe Bill Burr. No, I don't think it was Bill Burr. But he said something on stage about, like, having a good life and successful. And then someone, it was Kill Tony. Fuck, that's what it was. It was Kill Tony with Tony Hinchcliffe. And he was mentioning something cool he did, but in a a funny way. And people booed him. And he was like, "What? You don't like winners anymore? Is it bad to be a winner? I mean, you're gonna root for the under." Oh, that's what he was. Fuck, I'm all over the place. Sorry. He was doing an arm wrestling competition with the girl who was like, "I really just want to arm wrestle you," and everyone in the crowd started cheering the girl because she's the underdog. She's a guest. She's a woman. He's a man. And Tony gave, like, no slack. He was just like, okay, bam, wins really quick. And everyone's like, boo. And he's like, what? You're gonna boo winners now? Like, I know you like the underdog, but hey, you know, she asked for it and I gave it to her. And it was just kind of, yeah, you know, that's kind of what it is now, right? Like, we want to cheer for that underdog. We always cheer for that underdog. But now when someone was an underdog and now they're a winner, all of a sudden now we don't feel like we should cheer for them anymore, kind of thing. And I just thought that was hilarious that Tony did that. And I was kind of like, yeah, it's kind of the same with everything, right? Like, I have lots of buddies in Japan and they were kind of like, oh, well, how did you get that visa? Or how did you get to do Japanese comedy? It was like, I worked hard. I started from the bottom and I climbed to the top, and then I got there, I made money, I had a lot of fun, and I created my own Japanese. I wrote my own stuff. I found my own partner. Like, Jesus, like, I don't know if I told this on the podcast either, but finding my partner that I was with for that 2, 6, whatever years, I went through like 4 partners. I went through one New Zealand guy, one British English guy, and they both said, you know, I want to be a Japanese comedian. And every time it was like, I'd go up to meet them for writing material and they would just like be like, oh, look at that girl. Look at that girl. Oh, let's go pick up that girl. And I was like, dude, we're working. I mean, when I put my mind to something, I don't get distracted. And in Japan, there's a lot of distractions. Whether it's girls, whether it's drinking, whether it's going to play games at the arcades. I mean, I still miss arcades in the West. But yeah, you know, like these guys all the time were like, oh, there's a cute girl, hold on. Or, oh, I got to do this. Or they practice 3 times. They're like, I think I got it. And then they would screw up on stage. And I was just like, nah, I'm not having any of that. And I knew in a business standpoint that 2 foreigners is interesting, but it would never be accepted unless you had a Japanese partner who knows what he's doing. And I found a Japanese partner by going through an application that I found searching in Japanese that was like people looking for Manzai partners. And my first partner I found, and he was this very quiet, nerdy, young guy that wanted to be a comedian. And he didn't... It's weird to say as a foreigner too, but I get Japanese comedy. Like, you either get it or you don't, and I get it. Like, I get how it's structured, I get the beats, I get all these little things that are needed to become a comedian. And it's weird because that first partner, the first Japanese partner I got, he didn't get it. And I knew he didn't. But I needed a partner, and I needed him to be Japanese. So I took him, and we did, I think, 1 or 2 gigs together with his written material, which was so bad. But I sucked it up, and I did my work. We did it at a Chinese restaurant the last time in front of 1 customer, and it sucked. And at the end, he was just like, well, we have an extra minute, so how about you just sing a Japanese song by Urufurus, which is a cool band, by the way. And I was like, you just want me to sing a song? He's like, yeah, it'll be funny, you know, a foreigner singing Japanese. And I was like, it's not funny. And it's lazy writing. Like, no. And he's like, please do it. There's only 1 person. I was like, fuck, okay. And that was one of the lowest parts of my career. But in that Chinese restaurant was another comedian who was doing a solo act. And when I watched it, I noticed he had a bit of a sense and he had a personality I liked. And I was like, So after our show, I approached him and I was like, why don't you sit with us? And then he was like, oh, thank you. I had no one. And I was like, oh, that's fine. And I talked to him and I was like, I'm trying to look for a Manzai partner. I don't think this one's working out. What do you think? And he goes, okay. And that's how I met my main Japanese Manzai partner, Daichi. And that's where we started our combi, Guts and Go. Or in Japanese, Gotsu and Go. It doesn't change that much, does it? But yeah, and that's the story of how I met him. And that was a rough and bumpy relationship. When you do stand-up in English, you're your own boss. You write your own material. Everything is on you. When you're in a combi, or I don't know the English word for that, a duo, there you go. When you're in a duo, that was one of the first things that comes up. I talked to him and we talked and I was like, yeah, so I have a bunch of ideas I want to do. And what do you think? And he goes, well, I have my own stuff that I want to do. And I was like, really? But okay. And he said, how about we do 1 for 1? We'll do 1 bit that I wrote, and then we'll do 1 bit that you wrote. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds fair. But that didn't really happen. We did his bit, and then we did my bit. He didn't like my bit, so he goes, oh, well, let's just do a couple more of mine. And I was like, oh, okay, But eventually he had me dressing up as a girl in a maid costume. I don't mind doing that. Hell, I don't mind. But it really wasn't funny. And then he had me do a couple other ones, and some of them were hits and some of them were misses, but a lot of misses. You can see I have a little bit of resentment there left over, right? But yeah, he had me do a couple more, and some of them worked, some of them didn't, and we kept the ones that worked, and we threw away the ones that didn't. But eventually I came up again, and I was like, dude, I have all these ideas. I need to get them out. And he was like, okay, let's try another one. And he didn't even try. And he forgot lines, which made me forget lines, and then it screwed up the whole thing. And then we both felt ashamed, and then he was like, yeah, that didn't work. And it was like, because you didn't study it. And that's one of the problems with having a duo comedy group, is if one person forgets a line, that makes the other person screw up. Or if he says his next line and that guy forgets his line, then everyone's confused because you're missing a punchline or a setup. Like a whole setup or a whole punchline. Because that's Japanese comedy. It's very rapid setup, punchline. And the timing is so important. So that if one person makes a mistake, everything kind of gets screwed up. Or, the worst part, the audience feels it. They feel that misbeat. They feel that mistake. Whereas stand-up, you can just kind of cover it up. If you forget a line or something, you can just move on to your next joke. And, no one really notices it at all. But yeah, so it was hard being in a Manzai duo, and as the years passed on, more like anger and more hardships come out. And I've seen before me many younger or less experienced comedy duos just fall apart. I've seen experienced people fall apart and then come back with new partners. And that's really bad because it's like a divorce. And then you coming back and seeing your ex-wife or husband with their new wife and husband. It's just like, And basically we saw that and we're like, oh, we're fine. But as time went on, his mood and my mood changed a bit. And we almost got in fights. And my buddy Nick, who's an American doing comedy in Japan, he was telling me him and his partner actually threw fists. Luckily for me, when my Manzai partner once was upset because I was crossing my legs in the backstage, even though my senpai or upper comedians were like, oh, it's fine, he's foreigner. And I was like, I'll take it. My Manzai partner was just like, oh, and got really mad and then just kept doing like this Yakuza thing, like, what are you going to do? And he's like bumping chests with me and then he like grabs my shirt and I was just like, I'll give you one warning. I do MMA and you don't want me to throw down. And then he was just like, okay, but you can't do that. And, like it's a marriage. It's like a marriage. But that being said, I do miss it. And, I miss Japanese comedy. But now that I'm here in the West, I'm trying to get my English comedy skills up. I'm doing lots of shows. I'm enjoying it. And now I'm even incorporating, did I say that right? Incorporating Japanese comedy into it, which I'm hoping to make some kind of fusion. We'll see. But yeah, there you have it. So there's a little bit about visas in Japan and Japanese comedy. And I think that's good for today's episode, right? No? You want more? If you want more, leave it in the comments and I'll know to make longer versions. But for now, I think that's good. I'm content with this podcast. Are you? But yeah, guys, anyways, that's Some Dumb Gaijin. I hope you enjoyed it. It's not as political as the last one, which, had to be said. The world is on fire right now. And even though that podcast, when I look back on it, I was like, should I have said all that? Or, Should everyone just shut the hell up about Corona in Ukraine now? Probably yes. But I just had to say it. We need more positivity. Ugh, I can't talk today. We need more positivity in the world and we need to realize all these crap out there. So, had to be said. But anyways, guys, thanks for listening. As always, hope this was informative to you. This is Some Dumb Gaijin signing off. Peace.